Welcome to this session of live stream series where I've been exploring critical questions that every business owner and CEO really needs to be considering if they're going to drive integrity and build resilience in the face of challenges. I'm your host, Sue Matheson. I am the CEO Catalyst. I am also certified integrity game coach and mentor. This is the context of the conversation and where we are up to in using this framework to help provide the background for the questions that have been asked, because it's the integration of all of these questions that build the resilience and the strength in decision making, in setting strategies, setting goals, and so on. We started the series by considering the question of purpose. Specifically from a business perspective, what is the purpose of your business and the purpose of your role within that as CEO or business owner? Then from a gifts perspective, asking the question, what are your competitive advantages? What sets your organization apart from your competitor, from the person who has a similar business down the street? But there's another perspective to consider with gifts too, and that is, how do you relate to receiving and giving? And that's an interesting concept to pick up from a business point of view, but that's not our focus in this session. And then it's the integration of those two that drives potential. And there is a chronology to this where we look at vision being the furthest out that you can see, then coming in little ways to what is your mission, and how does your mission statement identify that you're on the way to achieving your vision? And then if you come back in a little bit closer from a time perspective, sort of coming back to that annual time frame, what are your objectives? Now, because your objectives are looking at that 12-month perspective, we then move into goals. So it might be 30 days, maximum sort of 90 days, really breaking those objectives down into tangible goals. And we use a SMART framework to define that. Now, from there, if you're going to be achieving your goals, you can start to frame what are your strategies, which is your plan, your tactics, and your resources to help you achieve your goals. And the conversation in this session is very much then centered around the topic of word and commitment. What is your relationship with your word? How do you manage expectations that you set for yourself as a CEO and business leader, but also for your team, for those that are working with you, and even, to some degree, your customers? What are the expectations in terms of, say, deliveries or contract negotiations and fulfilling obligations? What is the word and commitment that surrounds that sphere? And I could go down a little bit of a rabbit hole there, but I wanted to focus on one specific question around word and commitment in this session. I'm going to just take off that framework for the moment. And the question is very much, are you speaking positive words of influence? Not only to those that you are integrating with or your customers, your team members. Equally important is, are you speaking positive words of influence in your self-talk? And I really want to highlight a book, so it's sort of reflecting a little bit there, called Positive Words of Influence. And this is a book written by a dear friend of mine, Patty Blakeslee. I'm going to reference a few ideas that she talks about, so I can't recommend highly enough that you actually get your own copy. Go to Amazon, it's there. It's very readable, so much content that will help you draw this out even further. Sorry, again, Positive Words of Influence by Patty Blakeslee. The question again, are you speaking positive words of influence, let alone to others, but more importantly, to yourself? How much are you allowing emotions to drive the way you speak to yourself? Well, it's very easy, and I've got a chart here which might be a little bit hard to read, which I apologize for. It's not quite as big as I would have liked, and it is what it is. But down the left-hand side, there's a negative emotions. And if I was to sit at the top, the very first section, as an example, there's loneliness, anger, anxiety. Are they emotions that you are regularly allowing to drive your thoughts, your behaviors? The language that we use, the words that we say to ourselves, actually create chemical reactions within our bodies. And it sets off neurotransmitters that flow through all of our body. The issue is when we continually use the same negative word, for example, whether it be in anger because we're feeling that emotion, or we may have a language of self-talk that is built around anxiety, and we use words that are associated with that. The more we do that, the more we're setting in motion those chemical reactions, and we actually become addicted emotionally because it's setting that process off within our body. We need to intervene, which is a conscious choice. And it's about replacing the words that we are using in a negative way with positive words. And the way to do that is equally about making a choice of shifting the emotion. May also that at the same time we shift our physiology. If I'm sitting down, like I am at the moment in front of my laptop, and I'm having negative thoughts, To change that, I can choose to stand up. And at the same time, say to myself, I'm going to replace the negative word that I've been using with a positive word. Now, for example, if I have a feeling or an emotion of anger, I might replace that with something that's more loving, more joyful. Look for if I want to feel that emotion, look for a word that is associated with that emotion and break that process that's happening within my body of those chemical transmitters flooding how I feel. So those emotional addictions can be positive or negative. So we don't want to stay in that negative space because words too have vibration. I apologize. I have no idea what happened there technically. I hope I didn't lose you. Where I was at was talking about being able to intervene, and through a shift in the physiology, going as the suggestion, maybe going from a sitting position to a standing position. And at the same time, making a choice from going to feeling a negative emotion to a positive emotion, and consciously choosing words that go with that, because words have a vibration. So we can make a conscious choice to influence our self-talk. And by doing that, we improve the way we communicate with ourselves, but also with others. And we improve the influence that we have with our words. Now, coming back to apologies, now I've lost. That's okay with that little glitch. We are back. So we're back to our words and commitment. And by improving that conscious communication, we can manage far more effectively the expectations through our words and commitment that we are setting for ourselves and for others. But the more we do that for ourselves, more influence we are going to be able to have in a positive way. I mean, sure, we can do negative, but why do we want to do that? We want to have positive influence, particularly as CEOs and business owners. We want to be influencing the decision making in our interactions with others as we're looking to build contracts or create opportunity. How we present ourselves, how we use our words and have that influence is so important. But I strongly believe that the more we think about our self-talk, the more we're going to improve how that flows out of us and the influence that we have externally. Because if we've got it right internally, then it's just going to be a natural flow on from that. And it's just going to come out of us in a positive way. So again, Patty Blakeslee, my apologies, Positive Words of Influence, highly recommend it. Get it on Amazon. It's an easy read, but packed full of really helpful information. So a great resource to empower you as you seek to improve the way that you speak to yourself and you speak to others, and keep building that integrity into overall in terms of how that language that you are using influences your teams, those around you, as well as yourself. I hope you found that insightful and a good opportunity to check in with self. So easy for us as business leaders to just keep being on the treadmill, going through the motions, putting out the fires, and we forget to take a moment and check in with self. I hope you found that helpful, and just a little bit of a question to prompt you to do some soul searching. I look forward to hearing comments. Again, as I often say, you may agree or disagree. Either way, I would love to hear your comments and what resonates with you, what you find challenging, what you find helpful. So take care until next time, and bye for now.